9 U.S. presidents assassinated by globalists. This is article number 18 about the assassination of SEAL Team 6. The premise of this series is that political leaders who undertake the responsibility to represent the interests of the people fatally encounter a power entrenched upon the policy of assassination in order to maintain an elite political agenda. On 12 May 2011, the U.S. Navy DEVGRU, that means Development Group, Red Squadron undertook the covert operation named Operation Neptune Spear, under the authority of the CIA. How was this action in opposition to the globalist agenda? Why were 22 members of the SEAL team who carried out that operation assassinated 3 months later? The raid by SEAL Team 6 against the compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, was planned and executed to kill Osama bin Laden. It went smoothly, but there was a hitch. It had been ordered solely for deceptive political gain during a presidential election. Unknown to them, these honorable, courageous servicemen had become part of a satanic ritual called misdirection and had to be murdered because they knew too much. It is not commonly known that the methods used today by stage magic shows had their origins in the deadly satanic black magic weapons concocted in the evil hands of history's Merlins and Lucifer's conjurers. On stage, a sleight-of-hand artist misdirects the audience gaze to his left hand, while his right hand secretly makes a switch that will deceive and trick them. President Obama was running for re-election on failed programs, on a collapsing economy, and on broken promises. In 2008, during a presidential debate, Barack Obama had made a promise. And if we have bin Laden in our sights, and the Pakistan government is unable or unwilling to take them out, then I think that we have to act and we have to take them out. We will kill bin Laden. We will crush Al-Qaeda. That has to be our biggest national security priority, said Barack Obama, president running for election. The globalist satanic conjurers could use their expert skill in a sleight-of-hand method and call upon evil powers and human sacrifice. They knew the magic spell to misdirect public attention away from Obama's many failures onto something startling, something galvanizing, a spectacular event to make the failed Obama appear to be successful. So they decided to raise bin Laden from the dead and pretend to murder him again, but this time for public consumption. This plan did succeed because at football games people cheered when they heard that Obama had killed bin Laden. At the UN, he was praised for his accomplishment. Adoring crowds gathered at the White House, and telegrams came in from all over the world. More than 56 million people watching television saw President Obama's address on how he had killed bin Laden. To the voters, it did not matter that bin Laden had died many years earlier of kidney failure, or that whoever it was that they shot that day, it was not bin Laden. The owned press would not spill the beans. Misdirection is a satanic ritual requiring human sacrifice. It delivered a magic spell upon the nation, changed Obama from a failure into a hero in a flash, in a puff of smoke. They yelled, "Obama the hero! Yay, Obama! How successful Obama is! He got the terrorists! He killed the terrorists! Yay, 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 Obama!" But some honorable men knew too much, as they knew they would, even as the globalists and the CIA planned the Pakistan raid. Talk show host Alex Jones predicted shortly after the raid on bin Laden's compound that the SEALs would soon be reported dead in a helicopter crash or some other staged incident. This following multiple reports from military sources who had proved to be accurate in the past. Like Jones, this is obvious to me, as it would be to many of the readers of this series of articles. The SEAL team would be spared only until there was an information leak crisis, and also they had faded from the clear public focus. Then all would be silenced forever. What was it they knew that was too much? What did they know that they could tell others that would bring them to their death? It was not bin Laden in the compound in May 2011. It could not have been, because bin Laden had been dead for many years, since December 2001. This report from Fox News. Bin Laden already dead. This was Fox News report, December 26, 2001. Osama bin Laden has died a peaceful death due to an untreated lung complication, the Pakistan Observer reported, citing a Taliban leader who had allegedly attended the funeral of the al-Qaeda leader. That was from Fox News, reporting the Pakistan Observer. This report from Israeli intelligence. Bin Laden is dead and heir has been chosen. Israeli sources said Israel and the United States assessed that bin Laden probably died in the U.S. military campaign in Afghanistan in December 2001. They said the emergence of new messages by bin Laden are probably fabrications. And this came from Middle East Newsline, reported in the World Tribune, but the source was Israeli intelligence. This report, then, from CNN. Pakistan president says he thinks Osama bin Laden is most likely dead because the suspected terrorist has been unable to get treatment for his kidney disease. A Bush administration official said U.S. intelligence is that bin Laden needs dialysis every 3 days. It is fairly obvious that that could be an issue when you are running from place to place and facing the idea of needing electricity in a mountain cave hideout. Now, this report comes from the Telegraph. The December 27th, 2001 video was dismissed by the Bush administration as sick propaganda, possibly designed to mask the fact that the al-Qaeda leader was already dead. He could have made that video and then ordered that it be released in the event of his death, said one White House aide. Now, they reported that in the Telegraph. So, December 27th, they got a video, but bin Laden was dead on December 1. The CNN report 2001 continues, but by December, of course, the tape that was aired then, he's barely moving the left side of his body, so he's clearly got diabetes. He has low blood pressure, he's got a wound in his foot, and he's apparently got dialysis for his kidney problems. This report comes from The Guardian. Bin Laden has been reported to be in poor health. Some accounts claim that he is suffering from hepatitis C and can expect to live for only 2 more years. According to Le Figaro, that's a publication, last year would have been 2000, he ordered a mobile dialysis machine to be delivered to his base in Kandahar in Afghanistan. said The Guardian. Well, some people like to read the New York Times. With an ego the size of Mount Everest, Osama bin Laden could not have, remained silent for so long if he were still alive. He always liked to take credit, even for things that he had nothing to do with. Would he remain silent for 9 months and not trumpet his own survival? So the people that read the New York Times found that in their paper when they woke up on July 11th, 2002. So he couldn't be alive in 2011. This report comes from Fox News. Maybe you watched that. Osama bin Laden is dead. The news first came from sources in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Almost 6 months ago, the fugitive died in December 2001 and was buried in the mountains of southeast Afghanistan. Pakistan President Pervez Musharraf echoed this information. The remnants of Osama's gang, however, most likely stayed silent, either to keep his ghost alive or because they had no way of getting the information out, no means of communication. Fox News said that. 2001. So the point is that during the raid by SEAL Team 6 in 2011 in May, they could not have been bin Laden because he had died in December 2001, and we have so many different sources reporting that. There are satanic cults that engage in group sex. What happens to the children born in such encounters? The father would be unknown. These children and their families have always been and continuously were tracked and monitored by the CIA. They were the subject of MK-Ultra mind control programs, according to the Franklin cover-up by John DeCamp, and also the investigation by ex-FBI Chief Ted L. Gunderson, who made many public reports on this. One report states Obama's mother was a member of one of these cults. And the report said, and I don't remember the exact source of that, so just be careful with this information. It said it was called the Illuminati, but it would not have been the Illuminati of 1776. And I don't remember where I heard that report. When writing, I use my observation, my personal intuition, and my personal opinion. And I don't try to prove things with like legal evidence. So please use caution with everything you hear today. Now I am wondering why 4 heavyweight sources publicly state that President Barack Obama is a Manchurian candidate. Is it possible to turn someone into a Manchurian candidate? The answer is yes, and they have done so. Do globalists have the power, the position, the money, and the influence to convey and channel a Manchurian candidate into the White House? The answer is yes. I ask, would it conform to the globalist agenda to have a Manchurian candidate under their control in the most powerful position in the world? How would you answer that? Would they kill 22 members of a SEAL team if that team's knowledge and their credibility, once exposed, would endanger their zombie president? What would be your prediction? In some pictures, President Obama has a large scar which goes up the right side of his head and over his crown. Is this scar what someone would have if they had brain surgery? But without medical records, along with his school records and a real birth certificate, not the trumped up Trump deal, no one seems to be able to provide the answer as to the cause and source of the mystery scars. Lyndon LaRouche has stated that Obama should be impeached because he's mentally ill. He is a Manchurian candidate, said LaRouche. March 2012. Earlier today, Forbes magazine posted an excerpt from a book, Hope is Not a Strategy, by John Moriarty and D.M. Lucas. The author provided an excerpt from the book for this article, where he describes Barack Obama as a manufactured candidate whose history remains sealed. And then Moriarty goes on to say and to call Barack Obama, President of the United States, a Manchurian candidate. I don't have a source for the information on this one, when it was published, but today the financial news service Bloomberg referred to the president as a Manchurian candidate, citing what many are beginning to see as Obama's war on business. Two famous and very prominent in public view talk show host type people, Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck, have also raised the question, is Barack Obama a Manchurian candidate? Is this all just conservative political rhetoric? I have never heard this line before, or heard one repeated so consistently from such well-established sources. Must we not therefore redirect our criticism away from Barack Obama and direct it to an invisible power behind the scenes that could create and put into office a Manchurian candidate? My belief is that 9 presidents were assassinated to maintain a private banking cartel using paper money as their means. But in this case, the president lives, but is among the living dead. Is the president of the United States, Barack Obama, a zombie? This is such a new idea to me, as opposed to the old idea of presidents being assassinated. It is really hard for me to grasp. It's a difficult one to get your teeth into. Could it be as simple as Lyndon LaRouche says? The president is insane and should be impeached because he's a Manchurian candidate? But this does not address the globalists, does it? We ignore what they have done to us, to our presidency, and to our nation, and many people are very worried about the status of our nation these days. Obama is a problem, but not the real problem. This next is a news story from the Los Angeles Times, reporting from Kabul, Afghanistan, and from Washington, D.C. The story is by Laura King, Ken Dillian, and David S. Cloud. SEAL Team 6 members among 38 killed in Afghanistan. The Navy SEALs were among 30 Americans, 7 Afghanistans, and an interpreter killed in the deadliest incident for U.S. forces in the Afghanistan war when their helicopter was shot down August 6th. Associated Press sources are reporting a statistically impossible tragedy for U.S. forces in Afghanistan. That is, of the 38 NATO forces killed in a helicopter crash Friday night, more than 20 were members of SEAL Team 6, the covert unit that took credit for killing Osama bin Laden in May. This report goes on to say, 3 months after they killed al-Qaeda leader Osama bin Laden in neighboring Pakistan and cemented their place in military legend, the SEALs suffered a devastating loss when nearly 24 of the elite troops were among the 30 Americans who died when their helicopter was shot down in Afghanistan early Saturday. So they claimed that the insurgents, something called insurgents, we don't know what those are, who they are, or what they are, there's no proof, shot down this helicopter. Now, the interesting thing to me is the use of the words statistically impossible tragedy. statistically impossible tragedy. What does that mean? And why would those words be added to this report, as if they belong there? Does this indicate, or at least imply, that this was not really an act of war, not one that you would expect? This was something very unusual, and there was some strange cause involved in it. Are they really saying that maybe they had inside information that these fellows were sent to their death? Now, the next report comes from the Defense Department, from the Pentagon. No member of the bin Laden raid team was among the dead, said a Pentagon official briefed on the casualties, who was not authorized to speak publicly while the families were still being notified. This is a lie. How do I know that this is a lie? A Pentagon official with no name made this claim. You might as well report that the Tooth Fairy says no member of the bin Laden raid team was on this helicopter incident. According to a draft report by the Pentagon Inspector General, Admiral William McRaven, the top Special Operations Commander, ordered the Department of Defense to purge from its computer systems all of the bin Laden raid after first sending them to the CIA. So they purged all the files. Any mention of this decision was expunged from the final version of the Inspector General's report. So even that was covered up. According to the Pentagon, this was done to protect the identities of the Navy SEALs involved in the raid. The legal justification for the records transfer is that SEALs would be effectively working for the CIA at the time of the raid, which ostensibly means that any records of the raid belong to the CIA. Therefore, this information was not available to the Pentagon spokesman after the crash 3 months later. The spokesman lied. He didn't know who was in the raid and who was not in the raid and who was in the crash that might have been in the raid. He didn't know that, so he lied about that. Now, it seems okay to me to transfer the records from the Defense Department, from the Pentagon, over to the CIA. But then why take them and expunge them from their own records? Why couldn't both have them? Doesn't that seem strange? In response to major news organizations' Freedom of Information requests for the bin Laden raid files, Judge James E. Boasberg held that the Department of Defense was not required to release any evidence to the public. So no news and not the public could get any information. Since the information had been purged and transferred, no Pentagon official could know who or who was not in the bin Laden raid. This is what I call a psychologically reversible lie. I read it like this: the "we killed bin Laden" fairy tale is beginning to fall apart and is crumbling of its own weight. So they must kill and silence and contain all political damage by assassinating the entire SEAL team. This act of murdering these 22 courageous young Americans would be the final stage in the misdirection satanic ritual to save the failed Obama. The mass murder of the SEAL team would generate enormous fear, and from this fear, the globalists would gain power over others. I count the heroes of this SEAL team among the 9 presidents and other assassination victims of the European globalists, the Bilderberger Group, the black nobility, the communists, and others. I say this because the motive is the same. Let us examine the statements surrounding Charlie Strange father of SEAL Team 6 member Michael Strange, who died in the 2011 when the Vietnam-era Chinook helicopter was shot down during landing in Afghanistan. The families faced officialdom's total stonewall regarding 22 SEAL deaths. On the heels of much ballyhoo about killing bin Laden. This is unprecedented, even in the secret netherworld of special operations. Many generals and many rank-and-file ops members are indeed questioning the seemingly unfathomable official narrative, to say the least. This quote, added to the fact that the rescue team was held back and each family offered up the same narrative to those investigating the tragedy, that their sons had warned that leaks were jeopardizing their missions, while their deaths have become nothing short of mysterious. Listen to this. Charlie Strange said, "They sent my son to his death. I believe the U.S. government sent my son and his colleagues to their death." This quote, after Vice President Joe Biden revealed that SEAL Team 6 carried out the operation that killed Osama bin Laden in May, Strange said that members of his son's team gave startling indications to their families that they were about to meet their demise. Strange said on at least 3 separate occasions his son grabbed him by the bicep and announced that he had prepared his will. The bewildered father finally was able to find out what it was all about and what it meant. Michael Strange, his father recalled, said, "Something's going on with the team. Somebody's leaking things out. Something is going on." My observation is that the situation they saw developing was not totally caused by leaking, but by the fact that the misdirection hoax promoting Obama as a hero, not a failure during an election year, was falling apart of its own weight. They could not raise bin Laden from the dead. His bony fingers clutched the grave. A talk show host asked this question of Charlie Strange, the father. "Your son knew he was being sent to his death?" The answer, "They knew," Strange replied. "They knew something was up, every one of them." Oh, how brave those young men. This quote from the Charlie Strange report. Other families of the victims have reported similar experiences with their sons the last time they saw them, Strange said. And then Strange also said, documents related to the crash that he had obtained show that, among other anomalies, the rescue team was held back. That was all planned. This was all planned, he said. I have it in the paperwork. So that's what Charlie Strange said. Strange affirmed that there was no chase helicopter or any other kind of support for the team. Now that is very, very unusual. So you're saying, the talk show host said, they planned to execute your son and the others on purpose? And Strange answered, 100%, sir. Strange replied. Their top secret hyperspectral imaging sensors would have informed the CIA that it was not bin Laden in the compound, even before the SEALs went in. CIA would also have voice recordings from inside the compound made with spy devices and old bin Laden tapes for comparison. The CIA knew that it was not bin Laden, but the SEAL team did not. The body was buried at sea within 24 hours, and according to the U.S. officials, bin Laden was buried at sea because no country would accept his remains. Under Islamic tradition, burial at sea is considered inappropriate when other preferred forms of burial are available. Several prominent Islamic clerics criticized the decision. Muhammad Ahmed el-Tayeb, the head of Al-Azhar University, Egypt's seat of Sunni Muslim learning, said that the disposal of the body at sea was an affront to religious and human values. A professor of Islamic law at the University of Jordan stated, "It is neither true nor correct to claim that there was no body in the Muslim world to receive bin Laden's body. So why did they bury him at sea? Why did they bury him at sea? Because it was not bin Laden. If they had given the body away to someone else, they would certainly have been able to verify that it wasn't bin Laden." There's another question of significance. Were the SEALs ordered to kill him even if he surrendered? What were the rules of engagement for this mission? Witnesses said he was shot and fell to the floor and was moving about. Then they stood over him and fired into him to finish him off. What would this man say if he had been captured and not killed? Close-up photo comparison of his ears and his nose and maybe even his beard indicate they were not the same man. You can see this for yourself, and I have a video that was retrieved from the compound. We do not know who he was. Would the CIA have planted their own look-alike and his family in the compound on the 3rd floor? A bin Laden impersonator? What would be the consequences if this man had been captured alive? He could not have been bin Laden. So would Obama have been reelected? Would the globalist agenda have been ended and they lost their zombie, their Manchurian candidate? What part would the SEAL team members have played if they had not been assassinated in the chopper crash? I think their anticipation that their lives were in danger speaks volumes about what would have been revealed to the American public had they not been killed. And I also think that U.S. military individual whistleblowers, like Chip Tatum, could break this case, so nothing like this would ever happen again. The U.S. military was used to deceive the voting public during a presidential election. That is very improper. It is my opinion that the same group who assassinated SEAL Team 6 destroyed the British Empire and wrecked their industry. They collapsed the Soviet Union, and now they send our jobs and our manufacturing base overseas and plan to bankrupt America. They assassinated 9 U.S. presidents and 22 SEAL teams. They're masters of the art of sedition and subversion, and we do not defend our country against such tactics. When our sovereign government issues its own paper money and does not get entangled with private banks and bank loan scams, then many of the financial problems we have today will dissolve and fade away. Abraham Lincoln understood this, and he defeated the same enemy that we face today. The proof that Lincoln was right is that he, like 22 members of the SEAL team, paid with his life. The globalists killed 9 U.S. presidents and the SEAL team to protect their banking agenda. The Federal Reserve secretly disperses many times more taxpayer money than the U.S. Congress because they can.